Welcome to another episode of the Swords and Sports Podcast. One man's journey to read 52 fantasy books in 52 weeks and create 52 podcasts documenting the experience. I'm your host, Mike Mogues, the man embarking on this journey. Which, by the way, the journey's almost over. I think this is week 46 or 47 or something like that. Crazy. So, in honor of that, I had to bring on an extra special guest. One of the hottest, both figuratively and literally. Self-pub authors in the game, Ryan Cahill, here to talk about his book of Blood and Fire. That interview, of course, is coming up after the book details. As a quick self-promo, you can find this podcast on all your podcast listening platforms, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon, whatever. And, of course, YouTube. Please like, subscribe, and comment. And so I could stop asking, I guess. For all details about upcoming episodes, including clips of the show, you can follow the handle. It's at Swords and Sports on all your social media platforms that matter, which I think are just Twitter and Instagram. Let's get into these book details. The book is Of Blood and Fire. The author is Ryan Cahill. I'm saying that because I keep trying to say it like the Irish way, and as usual, it falls short of expectations. The series is The Bound and Broken. This is book 1. The series, as I already said, is The Bound and Broken, so I'll just repeat myself because sometimes you just gotta repeat it for emphasis. It was published on March 18, 2021. It is 521 pages of the paperback edition. And, as I already said, it is a self-pub masterpiece. Spoiler warning time! This podcast contains spoilers for the following book of Blood and Fire by Ryan Cahill. Honestly, this guy is fucking awesome. Without further ado, Ryan. I am beyond excited because it's another week of the Swords and Sports Podcast. And this week, I am joined by Ryan Cahill to talk about his The Bound and the Broken series. We're here to talk about book 1 of Blood and Fire. Ryan, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. I've seen loads of these, so it's cool to finally actually be on one.
Before the show started, he said he had seen none of them, so this was a lie. No, I'm kidding.
That is a lie. That's a dirty, filthy lie.
This isn't a truth podcast. You worked in pharmaceuticals on your way to writing book 1. Can we say that there was any performance-enhancing drugs in the creation of this?
Oh man, I'd say the complete opposite. Holy crap, that was hard. My fiance wanted to kill me because we were basically I was working like 12-hour shifts. So I get up at 6 a.m. I work from like 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. I come home, do my shit, and I go to the gym, eat food, and then I'd write from like 9 p.m. to like 3 a.m. And then I get up at 6 a.m. and go back to work. So we flew over to New Zealand, and I'm like, oh, maybe I should look for work because, you know, we're looking to get a house and things. And what if we're stressed for money? She's like, you do not go back to work. I'm not doing that shit again. You just write.
Listen, for anybody who's ever looking to be a stay-at-home significant other, be a workaholic to the point where you're emotionally unavailable, and then you'll be forced to stay home.
Yeah, that was the strategy I used.
I mean, it seems to be pretty effective. Speaking of fucking off out of Ireland, you went to New Zealand. How's that going?
Oh yeah, I'd love to say fantastically, but Ireland's been in lockdown for a year and a half, and like proper, like really strong lockdown, like for months and months, we couldn't go more than 2 kilometers from our homes. And then they expanded it to 5 kilometers. And New Zealand's been amazing and open. And we said, okay, this is the time. We'll go to New Zealand. We'll go to New Zealand. We do 2 weeks in like this controlled isolation. We get 6 days in freedom, and then New Zealand locks down. Now we've been in lockdown ever since. So we've only had 6 days here that haven't been in quarantine, basically. So it's been interesting.
So fun. Speaking of,
I've had fun, just not outside the house.
All right. Well, you could change your location, but you can't change, what you're allowed to do, I guess.
Unfortunately.
In those 6 days, though, you happened to go
amazing.
hobbit. You happened to go hobbit hunting. Did you find any?
You do your research. Yeah, no. Technically, we did. We didn't find the hobbits. They didn't come out because they were sleeping, but we did, and that's what was cool about here. Was we just went to a field. And no joke, we didn't go to Hobbiton. We went to a field that's about 15 minutes down the road, and we walked through like trees and then across like genuinely just a cow field. There were cows in the field. There was shit everywhere. And then my fiance Amy, she's like, look, there it is. And then over in the corner, I don't know if like a local farmer did it or if we really have a hobbits here, but there's this hill with this blue hobbit door put in it and windows stuck on the side of it. I'm going, okay, that's pretty cool. And then we keep walking, and there's another one, but this one had effort. Like there was real thought put into it. And it was the yellow door, and it was actually built into the hill, and the windows were actual windows, and I was really impressed. I had a great. This was just in the middle of nowhere in New Zealand.
Yeah, my curiosity is piqued here. How did you even figure out that these exist in the fields? Because I kind of like the idea of you just randomly wandering around, but I imagine that you don't often wander around fields.
No, okay. So my fiance is from New Zealand, right? She's from Auckland. And so, but it isn't as uncool as that. She wasn't like, oh, there are hobbits here. Right. What she did, she said, look, when she was a kid, she remembered walking through a particular field and she was pretty sure she saw something like that. And so we were still both excited when we actually found it. Like I didn't believe her. And then we got there and even she was like, oh, wow, that was a real memory, not a dream. So I had a good time.
What a kind of random shit is that?
I have no idea, but it's not even as if like it's like a storefront or like a shop and they're trying to impress customers. This is a field.
Right.
Like acres of field around it. So you would have to come into the farmer's field to find the hobbit hole. So he put it there, but I don't know why.
There you go. I've got a genius app idea, Hobbit Hole Finder. There you go.
I'm not gonna say what I don't want to say.
You can say whatever you want. Doesn't mean I'm gonna edit it out.
It's just one of the it's just one of the strangest porn apps I've ever heard.
Now we're cooking.
Oh my god. So have you downloaded Hobbit Hole Finder? It's been a great weekend.
Oh, I think that you need to go see a specialist if that's how far down the hobbit hole you've gone. Look at that. Speaking of shipping issues in New Zealand, which we weren't speaking of, but did you ever get your copy of The Way of Kings?
Yes, it arrived. Oh my god. You know how long it took this to get here? Nearly 2 years.
Was it worth the wait?
Yes, it was.
Oh, it's in 2 books. This thing is gorgeous.
Hold on. I know there's people who'll hurt me just for handling it like this, but I fold over the edge of pages. I'm that guy. So.
And if you keep bothering him, he's going to pee on it. That thing is, look at that. It's reflecting off the screen. It's blinding around.
The shine. It's so beautiful. Yeah, it took so long to get here, but I was very happy when it did.
2 years. Holy shit.
Yeah.
In that time, he put out like 7 other books.
I know. I saw them. I got them and I read them. But, it was crazy because I remember I was trying to convince my fiance, my partner at the time, to let me buy them. She was like, how much is that? I was like, it's kind of like $100 and then $100 of shipping. She was like, what? Like for 2 books? I was like, yeah.
You don't get it.
Can I just buy them anyway? And what was great was that now that they've arrived, I paid for them 2 years ago, so it doesn't mean anything now.
Right. I mean, that's like found money.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, oh my God, books, cool.
She can't even be mad about that anymore. And you probably like planned on taking her on a date to make up for it. And like, where are you going to go?
No, but like we went places. Yeah.
Another field? Like, I
mean, in between ordering these and receiving these, we got engaged. So something went right.
Congrats on that, by the way.
Thank you.
I
think you just forgot about the books.
Speaking of your engagement, I did have a question about this. Okay. Your brother threw you a dinner. It was really nice of him to do. I thought that was a really cute idea. I wish I had a brother who did that for me. But I had a question about like what the fuck was up with his waiter outfit.
I can't even remember what he was wearing.
I'll tell you what he was wearing. He was he was in a white button down, which, don't get me wrong, is super classy, like beyond classy. Love it. Big fan. Then he had on Adidas basketball shorts, which was an odd combo.
Yes.
And then on his feet were some sort of like Irish clog looking things.
No, I think they were just Crocs.
I thought they were Crocs, but I didn't want to
Yeah.
accuse him of blasphemy.
Yeah, no, I accused him. He didn't care. So he's where to start? This is like decades worth of just horrific fashion choices, but I can't really say shit. But yeah, my brother is also the illustrator in my books.
I know.
So he went to art college, and I don't know what it is. I think it's like when you go into art college, it's like going to a factory that just plants this weird shit in your head. So like everything was like the stranger you are, the quirkier you are, the cooler you are. So he kind of just put it, this is the best definition. All right. So everyone's brothers or sisters steal their clothes.
Right.
Okay? It happens. All right.
Stole my sister's clothes.
Only on weekends. But this in particular was what gets me. So, I'm not like OCD. If I have no matching socks, I'll wear odd socks. But like if I do have them, I'll stick them together and I'll wear them like matching.
Okay.
So, like a normal person. All right. I'm not too obsessed about it. Like
right.
One day I was looking through, I was like, I'm gonna get dressed. Shit, I have no matching socks. Okay, that's fine. I'll put on like this one and this one. And then I come down the stairs and I turn around and there's my brother wearing the opposite pair of my mismatched socks. You know what that means? That means he went to steal my socks, found two matched pairs together, unfolded them, and took the two separate ones just so he would be quirky.
Now, do you feel better or worse about the fact that you chose two of the two other socks?
I'm kind of neutral about that part.
Right.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. I was like, hold on, those two were paired. You unpaired them on purpose, and they were both mine.
It's kind of funny in its own nutshell.
Oh no, it's definitely funny. Even at the time, it was funny. But I think that goes the best way to describing what kind of person he is when it comes to choosing what he needs to wear.
I mean, shout out to him. Like most people say, don't bother going to art or, liberal arts colleges, but he actually found a use working for his brother. Now, you claim you actually paid him. I don't think anybody believes that. So, it was payment, just like you bought him a beer or something.
We're no curse on this, are we?
Fuck. There you go.
Oh, brilliant. Now, see, I'm Irish. Okay, so all I do is curse. But I have so many, and this is a strange thing.
Times already.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, but this was my only conscious one. So like I go and I look at some of the reviews. You're not meant to look at reviews, and I'd say I have on Amazon alone, I have 9 or 10 reviews. They're like 4 stars, and they go, "Oh, this was a 5-star book, but the author felt the need to devolve into language and profanity," and I'm like, it is a 140,000 word book, and they say the word fuck about 17 times. That is a great statistic, no matter where you are. They barely use it. It's appropriate because sometimes you need to say fuck. It works.
I agree.
Yeah.
I did have that question written down. How did you feel about people who knocked the star off for the F word? But it seems like you answered.
Wait, we'll get back to it because it could be funny anyway.
I'm not editing this, so it's in the order it's in.
No, yeah, that's fine. All right.
There's an author, Alicia Wanstill Burke, and I counted the amount of time she dropped an F-bomb, and it was like in the hundreds, like in the late hundreds.
See, that makes me feel so fantastic because like I've actually, ever since when I got the messages at first, right, I had this thing in my head, all right, and I was like, is it really worth having folks if, like, in reality, like the way Amazon ratings work are crazy because people are always going, oh, it's not fair because 1 stars are weighted more than 5 stars. And I'm like, yeah, but that's not Amazon, that's maths. So the problem is, like, we view books as between a scale of 4 to 5 because any rating below a 4 is a bad rating. But that's not how star ratings work. So the reality is as soon as you pick anything lower than a 5-star, you drop a book down to a rating that is trimming on the edge of what you would view as readable. So if you give it a 4-star, you're bringing it down towards 4 stars. And when a book's below 4 stars, a lot of people go, ooh, I don't know if I'm going to read that. So I did kind of contemplate on, should I go through and take out some fucks? Like, is it worth just getting rid of the fucks? And I counted them. And then I counted my next book is nearly double the size. And it has about 30 to 40 fucks. And I was like, oh, maybe I will. And hearing somebody has like 100, I'm leaving them. I'm definitely leaving them.
She's a true inspiration. And
yeah.
I think you're close to that middle ground where it's like, if you have a little bit of curse words, it's okay because you're like occasionally sprinkles in. If you have a lot of curse words, that's also okay because that's then just the type of book it is. But you don't want to be in that middle zone where it's like, it clearly looks like you tried to sprinkle some in and then you got a little excessive with it.
You know what gets me so much? I'm like, I get these, I've even got messages about it. Like, and what gets me so much is I'm like, I have like 7 people being disemboweled in this book. There are horrific images. There are horrible things, but you care about the word fuck? I'm like, you just watched a kid get beheaded, but you gave out about the fact that his parents said fuck.
That's that's like US movie ratings, right? Like you can't show a boob, but you could show like a child getting
so you can't show a boob, but you can show 2. Oh, so it's interesting.
It is really like a fascinating thing. So your brother, we landed on that, not paid for the work.
I only realized we never got back there. Sorry. Yeah. He is paid. He's paid a lot of money. And in fairness, the way I look at it is I do get a good deal. So I'm not paying him what I would pay a crazy illustrator.
Yeah, I would hope not.
But
like this guy.
No, Jesus, no. No, there is. He gets paid and he gets paid well. But it's not like the arm and a leg payment that you'd pay for these kind of things, because obviously there's professional illustrators, and even for covers, you could get some of those amazing, like beautiful covers. They could cost $1,000, $2,000, $3,000.
Right.
Now when I'm doing this with my brother, like he's great, he's fantastic, and he does give me a good price, and we do pay because I feel like, because we want that kind of relationship, we want that kind of professional relationship where, I want a certain quality of product, and if I don't pay him, then I can't give out to him. So right. Like, if I want it a certain way, I can't be like, no, you got to change this. And he's like, you're paying me in biscuits. Like, so that can't happen. So we worked it out, and like he's getting paid a bit more for the stuff with the second book than for the first book, and it's good. Like I get a great deal. He gets some money because he's a photographer as well, and that's what he does as a living at the minute. So like he does that. He does the illustrations for me. He gets a bit of extra money, and he's definitely giving me a great discount. But unfortunately, I'm not paying him the biscuits. But I think when you work with family, you need to be careful with stuff like that.
Absolutely, 100%. And if anybody wants an example, I mean, the thing that actually works and makes this like all happen is he's good at what he does. I mean, clearly, I've seen the illustrations.
Very good at what he does.
And if you look at Ryan's author photo, I mean, let's put him in GQ with that thing.
Yeah, I mean, just put this out here as well, though. Like, I just had a shower. I haven't had a haircut in 2 years, so I don't. Yeah, I'll go like this. Looks beautiful.
Speaking of getting paid, something that I found interesting was when Of Blood and Fire hit 1 million page views on Amazon KU, you said that you would have been happy with 6 page reads and a warm gummy bear. Now, I would agree with you, but it like largely depends on the type of gummy bear, right? Like, is it one of those super giant ones? Because like, there's no price you could put on getting one of those.
It's weird that you said that, because have you watched? There's a show called Lock and Key on Netflix.
Okay, no, I haven't watched it.
Okay, so this isn't a spoiler. It's just something that happens, but it's nothing to do with the plot at all.
Spoiler podcast, throw it at me.
Oh yeah, fuck it, yeah. I got spoilers from my book though, not for like every other show in the world.
Spoil whatever you want. Spoil other people's books.
In the end. Just as you said that, I was watching an episode of it the other day in the 2nd season, and basically there's a thing that makes other things bigger. It's like it's a small dollhouse. Whenever you put in the dollhouse, gets normal size in real. It gets like huge in real life. So say if someone had a dollhouse of my house, and this is what happened, somebody put a gummy bear in the room, and the gummy bear was 8 feet tall. And that actually happened. So it's weird that you mentioned it today.
Wonder what else you could put in that dollhouse. Moving on.
I knew you were thinking that.
Thinking
that. You said I had problems.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna try to get this thing. I'm gonna try to get this thing back on track. I don't think this is. I don't
between
think
that and your Hobbit hole finder.
I knew this was gonna be fun. How has your Pokemon addiction impacted your chemistry?
You do deep dives. No, I'm still addicted to Pokemon. I actively have to stop myself. I think I was in third year, I think in university. And
I've written down.
Pokemon White came out, and Pokemon White, White and Black, I think it was, but the new, not new anymore, but the newer version at that stage. And I specifically got a Nintendo 3DS just to play that game. It was the most expensive game I've ever bought. And I'd sit at the back of my lectures, and we'd have like in America, we'd have like the lecture halls.
Right.
And I'd be sitting at the back, and my hands would be there, and I'd be playing, and I'd be like, they're going through like, I know, like stereoselective chemistry, and I'm just sitting there going, I got an Eevee, and that would just be my day. Like I basically nearly failed chemistry. It was not fun.
I mean,
it was fun actually.
It was probably great. I did that same thing in high school, except I failed.
See, I did it in high school too. I just couldn't really afford to do it in college or university. That was bad.
But yeah, you were trying to be working pharmaceuticals. You got to actually work to do that.
I was trying to catch them all.
I would say that's probably more important than a college degree. If someone came to me and they said, I caught them all, or I have this master's degree or whatever, I'd be like, I mean, I gotta hire person one that takes way more initiative to do that.
Not just initiative, it shows follow through, it shows dedication, it shows meticulous attention to detail. Like that is work experience that far surpasses any academia.
Right. And that's how I would pick it.
I've clearly thought about this.
Well, if you failed, you needed something to come up with something. You claim
have you ever seen a shiny Eevee? Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no. Let's go back to the shiny Eevee. I want one so badly.
That was always my obsession.
You claim that you're going to fight people who don't think that dragon is an adjective. How many fights have you had because of this?
That dragon is an adjective?
Yeah, you said it in an interview.
What's the context?
Context was 3 words to describe your 3 adjectives to describe your book, and then you said dragon.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Okay, so that makes sense because initially I was going, okay, that guy's very dragon, but now I get it. Now I get it.
So that's a cool way to describe someone.
Funnily enough, what I have found is there is nothing more, I suppose, what's the word? I can't think of the word. I'm an author, but we have dictionaries and thesauruses, so it's fine.
Right.
Thesauri. But
need those too.
Nobody argues with dragons. It doesn't happen. No, they do. Okay, so you could basically bring up a dragon in any conversation with people who are into fantasy, and you will generally just find some way that you'll agree. People just love dragons. The only arguments I've ever seen happen with dragons, and they're usually on Facebook groups because that's where the crazies are, is what is a dragon? Is a dragon, that's not a dragon, that's a wyvern. And, that's a worm, and that's a this, and that's a that. And I go, you are genuinely arguing, the anatomy of an imaginary creature. And like when you go about the world, like you have Chinese dragons, they were dragons. They were long, looked like snakes, they were dragons, right? You have like in like Aztec culture, Mayan culture, in Western culture, they're all dragons. They're just different. And people get so, like, I've seen some aggressive arguments on how if you have 2 wings and 2 legs, that is not a dragon. And people were ready to spill blood.
They're surprised. People can't even agree on what a person is. Like, you expect them to agree on the definition of a mythical creature?
Yeah. You would think that you would have more flexibility for something that doesn't actually exist.
No, I think you need to get more rigid.
Yeah, that's the world. Oh.
in your fantastic article for Self-Published Fantasy Month, you something like, self-pub tips was the general gist of it.
I know what this question is going to be. Go.
How many cookies can you eat in 60 seconds?
I knew it. The answer is far less than I thought I could.
It's not an answer. I need a number. How much did you think? Let's start from there. How many cookies did you think you could eat?
Think about this. Okay, so this is, again, science is my background, chemistry, which doesn't really have anything to do with cookies, to be totally honest. But
or everything to do with.
Yeah, but the way I look at it, I'm like, okay, if you gave me a cookie right now, it's an average size cookie, I could put it straight in. I probably half a chew and down. It wouldn't be comfortable, but you could do it.
Right. Now, what are we calling an average size cookie? A Chips Ahoy? Like an Oreo? An Oreo's got to be like the standard, and everything deviates off that.
Okay, I'm thinking Oreo. Yeah, I would think in my head the standard is like Oreo size chocolate chip.
Okay, we're there.
Yeah, so something around that. I'm thinking, you could get. I think if you're elite level, you could do 60 and 60. Okay, because if you've not seen those food eating videos, I've seen people do that with burgers, but I think I'm not elite level. I'm not elite level.
You're like pro-am.
Yeah, very much so. I think because I did most of my training on the couch. Not it. Yeah, I don't bring my cookies to the gym much, but I think I was going. Okay, look, I can go halves.
So 30 and 60.
Yeah, and what I didn't account for was the lack of moisture content. All right, that's where we're going.
Right.
So you think cream crackers? You ever heard the challenge? I don't know what you guys call them over there. You might call them cream crackers.
Cream crackers. No, I don't know what those are.
I need to show you because let me see. All right, I probably am the first person to actively go on their phone on this interview, but it's just to show you. I swear.
You'd be surprised what people do on interviews.
So, you see these?
Check out the YouTube page and you can see what he's talking about. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So there's the challenge, the world challenge of who can eat as many of them in 60 seconds. And most people can't get past 2 or 3 because as soon as you put them in your mouth, all the moisture dries up and it's just clumped and you can't speak and you can't swallow it because there's no spit. And it's so funny because people are trying to eat them and they can't talk and they can't swallow.
I'm pretty sure I had another author on here who was talking about this exact thing. I got to look up who it was.
Would not be surprised.
Shout out to Sam Hawk. That's who I believe it was.
Okay, we're going to hold you to that and I want to find out afterwards.
Okay. I mean, dude, I got the memory of a goldfish.
Yeah, that's fun. But so do I. That's why I write everything down. But cookies are a lot better. I can't remember exactly what it was, but I think probably 16, 17. I was quite disappointed. Not with the challenge in general, because I had 16, 17 cookies.
Right, but with your performance.
Just with my performance, yeah.
Right, and you should take a hard look at. But do you think that performance was better or worse than your performance as a 7-year-old trying to write a book and quitting? That's a tough question.
I think it was better because I had the follow through.
Right.
I had to follow through. But it was quite funny because that's what was weird for me is that I'd never before Blood and Fire, I had never actually really written. That was the last time I'd written anything was high school. So I was talking to my mom. You guys probably say mom, and we say mom, M-A-M.
Right.
I don't know.
Close enough. Whatever.
Yeah. I used to get made fun of by Americans all the time. Mom. Put on a thick Irish accent, but she was telling me and reminding me of how we had this old the compact computer, this big thick white computer, none of the monitors that are this size now. And then I used to go up and I'd be typing away, and it was there it was, a boy. The boy had hair, but then I got really into it, and I wrote 3 chapters. Now each chapter could have been 6 lines long, but but I was getting into it, and then. Yeah, I don't know. None of us knew what happened because my mom is not particularly tech savvy. She's getting there. Don't give out to me if you watch this, Mom. But we lost the file. It was not a good period in our lives. Because I made it a bad period in her life because I was upset.
I mean, you should have been. Yeah, that's not saving after you catch a legendary. There we go. Look at that, full circle.
That's it. but naturally as well, because we both had memories of the goldfish, I then completely forgot and never went back to it. Yes.
Well, if you ever find it, can I have it and publish it under my name? That's been my marketing strategy on this show. That's the real plan, is to acquire a bunch of people's manuscripts that they didn't want and then publish them under my name.
You know what? There's definitely a business model out there that actually does that.
Yeah, it's some of those vanity publishers. Watch out, don't get caught.
Yeah.
Let's start talking book questions. As always, this is a spoilers podcast, so if you haven't read the book yet, first off, what the fuck are you doing? Second off, go ahead and do it, because we've got some fun questions. Are you ready?
Never.
All right.
Cool.
Is there ever a worse time to have no friends or really weak, shitty, dorky friends than the proving?
Absolutely not in any way, shape, or form. No. No. The proving was a funny one because, I think it's kind of, my book doesn't shy away from it. It has tropes, and it does it on purpose because, like, I write the book for I wrote it to be a classic fantasy, what I loved when I was growing up, but I wanted to kind of age it up. So I wanted what I experienced reading, that kind of escapism, but so that people who are my age now could read it and go, they're a bit younger, but they're kind of like 18, and you have a bit more going on, and it's a bit grittier. Like there's loss and there's blood and there's fire. But the proving, I was at first I was going, is this harsh enough? Are they getting put through enough? Is it just this and that? And then I had loads of people come back to me and be like, man, that proving was dark. That happened. And I was like, maybe it was. I thought it
was a grand old time. But I think if you're friendless and you get stuck, like if no one picked you for the group, so no one picked you for the group project, and then the teacher's got to put you with some other other misfits, you're fucked.
You are definitely fucked. Yeah, completely.
I have more questions on the proving. Could you have killed a giant animal a week before, hid it in the woods, and then found it and tried to pass it off as your own?
See, I suppose the idea. Okay, so technically, I suppose with skills of people at that stage, they probably would have been able to tell by the deterioration of the skin or pelt.
I thought that when I was writing this question.
In this as well, I think the idea for me, it's funny, and I think every author will say this to you, that their whole world is like an iceberg, and all you're seeing is the tip. So I already go back way this in my head. They will, in this, you see at the start of the book, they go into the forest. They go into that same forest, but they only go during the day and they only go so far in. And the idea would be that it's like anything, the whole culture and society is built on honor and pride, and they inherently wouldn't do that. And the people who would do it are the people that these people won't like. So as well, you wouldn't really be going that far in beforehand because this is dangerous. There are things in there that will kill you, and they can kill you quite quickly. So most of them don't want to be going in there twice.
Right.
So them going in to kill it the first time is just as dangerous.
Okay.
In the reality of it. Now, there probably was some bastard who did it 50 years ago. Dickhead. But,
there was a good just a tip joke in there somewhere, but we're not going backwards. Okay. In the order of operations, and Uruk that's a big prize, right? Let's say that's what won it. That's what on any given year, that's probably winning it.
Oh yeah, there's nothing beating that there.
But what about if you kill the person who killed the Uruk?
Well, it depends on how they kill the Uruk.
Right. Okay. But if they bested it 1v1, that would mean the human is the more dangerous prey.
Yep.
And then you kill the human. That's a win.
Yeah, and then you will win the proving, and then they'll probably kill you for murder.
Right, but you die a hero.
I don't know if you die a winner.
You die a winner, which to me is a hero.
Which I think I was about to say, I think in most states in America is a hero. So it just depends.
It doesn't matter how you do it; just matters that you get it done. Okay, this one was less relevant. I've always wondered this. Everyone's always protecting dragon eggs, but has everyone ever just been like, fuck it, I need an omelet?
I suppose Okay, so yes, they probably would, but there's never been anyone who's been able to open one without it opening itself. And also,
Right.
they're
Okay.
dragons, so I suppose inherently in the logic that if you cook them, it probably won't do anything to them.
But like the yolk, if you somehow got in there,
If you somehow did, you could probably have the spiciest omelet you've ever had in your entire life.
god damn, that would fucking hit.
Yeah, think like pure essence of ghost pepper and Carolina Reaper.
Oh my god, I just had some Carolina Reaper
Yeah,
thing. It was awful.
yeah, yeah. Why would you do that to yourself?
I don't know, to make you tougher, I guess. I don't know, whatever kind of logic you want to twist to it.
I don't think it just makes you cry, but okay.
Right. Well, I'm always crying. When
It's good for emotions.
this is a major spoiler, but I'm asking it anyway. When Rendell stabs Vars and he asks him, "Why would I do that?" regarding a fair fight, it's a good question.
Yeah, but that's but it's exactly when I write certain characters, I really do. I try and it's part of the reason why I say fuck in the books is because sometimes, depending on the way the character's thinking, I like to go, man, I would definitely say fuck in that scenario. And that's kind of my gauge. I'm like, someone stubs their toe. If that was me, I'm shouting fuck. It doesn't always have to be because your best friend died. If I stub my toe hard and it hurts, I'm shouting fuck.
Right.
Like, it's happened. So, but in that situation, I think of Rendell's character, and I'm like, okay, this guy is he's sassy as shit. He doesn't give a fuck about anyone, and he's going, why the hell? If I have a sword and you don't have a sword, would I give you one?
Yeah, I mean, dude, it's a great point. At some point, do you think Vars is like, oh yeah, that's a good point. Probably a waste of a question.
Yeah, and that's the idea. And I think it's one of those things that, like, I've read a lot of fantasy books, and I love those books as well, where basically everything has to be heroic. And I suppose that's the definition. You look at like heroic fantasy, like noble bright fantasy. And I do have loads of elements of that in my books, but I've always wanted not that kind of grim. I'm not going to say grimdark because it's such a broad word now, but like not the, there's grimness, and then there's like, when you look at it, noble bright and grimdark, and like I love aspects of both of them. I didn't want to kind of go down one end without touching the other ones as well. So like in my head in this book, like, no, he's not going to go, you know what? Yeah, I'm going to beat you in a fair fight and show you who I am. Is it, no, you're dead, bitch.
Okay.
Yeah.
I agree with this. This is the worst question I have.
Uh-oh.
Are the Empire's assassins just trying to lend a helping hand?
Oh, fuck. Oh. I actually really appreciate puns. I do. I really appreciate puns. Oh, sweet Jesus. I've never actually, no one's ever said that to me. So that's why it's kind of taken me. And like my brain, I'm all about the pun, and I'm trying to come up with one really quickly and try to buy time by doing this, but I can't. That was just bad.
That felt right.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on. This dead air on this.
Swiftly on.
Ryan into silence with just incredible question asking. This guy Farda, would he be best friends with Two-Face?
I think it depends on the coin flip.
No, what happens if they both flip coins at each other and they have a coin flip off?
But that's what I mean. I think that'd be great friends. That'd be such good friends. And then one of them flips a coin. He's like, "That gotta kill you now." So
there you go. That would be awesome. Be like, "Oh shit, mine landed on you're good." Well, mine didn't. Pow.
Yeah, done, gone. Doesn't matter.
All right. I don't know how well this one translates to over the pond or wherever the hell you are, but would everyone live if the coin had a tail side? Because tails never fails.
Oh my god, so many puns. I love it, but I hate it. But I love it, and that's what I love about puns. Oh god, there's no. Well, what do I say? Yes.
There you go. That might be the clip of this. That might be the clip I put out of this show.
Yes.
This guy Kalinvar, he asks dying people, If we save you, are you willing to?
I can't even let you get to the end of the question. I feel like I'm at like a Chris Rock concert, and it's just throwing out one-liners.
All right, we got to move on. I mean, that was the end of the bit.
I can kind of imagine you like this American Italian. So let me ask you this question. This guy Calvin Bar. Oh God. Okay, continue. Sorry.
Oh, this is great. I'm asking the question. You can keep laughing if you want. This guy Calvin Bar. This guy Calvin Bar. He asks dying people, if we save you, are you willing to forego your past life and eventually blah blah blah, everything that you hold to yourself? Who's saying no to that?
So actually, and this is so in his thought process, you'll see when he's doing that, he watches how they hesitate and watches what they do and watches the way they react. And it's not just about the content of the words, it's about the intent behind the words. So it's not about them saying no, it's about him deciding whether they're worthy based off the way they react to the questions. So as you said, like one of the lines, I can't remember exactly, because again, memory of a goldfish, but I think the line that he has is basically that one should not just wish to live, they should wish to live in the way that they deem right. So the idea is that if someone is grasping at straws simply to snatch a last bit of life and they don't abide by the principles, then they're not getting the life. They're not being saved. So the questions aren't more for the answer, but the intent behind the answer. And I'm aware that you were asking that as like a cool laughy question, but I gave you a serious answer. And you're like, what pun do I have now?
You flipped the script on me. I couldn't even think of a response. So then I'm gonna keep plowing forward. Is Callan?
I didn't mean to be dragging on. Sorry.
Yes. Is Callan Colin? What are we calling him?
Kalen.
Oh man, third time's a charm. Is Kalen just going around murdering wildlife every time he shoots a bow? He's killed a cat. He's killed a squirrel.
Yeah, it was quite funny because when I was writing some of that stuff, it's interesting humor in books. It's sometimes it translates, sometimes it doesn't, and especially when it comes to like across the pond and stuff, the way humor works. And I remember I was writing that line where basically his friend came up and was like, you really gonna bring that? Like, you killed a cat the last time. And when I was writing that, myself and my best friend, he's like my alpha reader and he reads through everything first, and we were in stitches laughing at that joke. And then we go, it's so dry and it's not in its essence a joke, but it's fucking funny because he's not like, you actually shot a cat, like you did not intend. Yeah. And I remember that I had someone reading that, a beta reader, and they're like, that's really mean. Why would he kill a cat?
Drop that immediately.
Yeah, and I was like, it wasn't intentional. He's just really shit. It's a joke. As soon as he hit the cat, he was like, oh, meow. Yeah.
That's the person who dropped a star for an F-bomb.
Yeah, I was just like, oh wow, that joke did not hit.
Right. Trust me, having interviewed multiple authors, there's a lot of times where the joke doesn't hit, and it's as bad every time. It never gets easier. Yeah. Should we be concerned about Don's drinking? It was only meant to be one drink is the number one red flag of someone who's lost control of their drinking.
It's also, so again, there's a bit of both, because I've always had that element, and I was talking again to my friend, and when I was writing the character, I was going, there's many ways for his character to go, and someone who gets lost in that, you kind of want to. One thing to do with writing, what I've found is a lot of the time I will put bits in that will allow me in 2 or 3 books time to create something and already have made the promise. So if I leave signposts for things, if I make them subtle enough, I don't have to follow through on them. If you make a big promise, you have to follow through, or it's like anything, like a reader will get really upset. Like I saw one recently, people were talking about Game of Thrones and like the endings in Game of Thrones, and how one of the biggest things people actually don't talk about enough. So obviously a lot of people hated the ending of Game of Thrones, right? The last season. Yeah. But one of the things that people don't really talk about enough is that in George R. R. Martin's writing and in the Game of Thrones series, the promise that you got was that you will get meaningful character deaths, that they will die and they won't come back. They're genuine, strong characters that are just dead, but a lot of the time there'll be meaningful deaths, and the death will be proportional to what they've done in their life. So like you go to Ned Stark and his death was just queen click stroke, done. All right. And then you go to Lannister and he's shot while he's taking a shit on the seat by his son. That's a horrific death. Okay. And then you get to the ending of it, and the producers betrayed that promise. They stopped killing the characters, they stopped giving meaningful character deaths, and all of a sudden you're not getting what you want. You're watching that show because it's the one show where no one is safe, where people are going to die, and they're not just going to die, they're going to die properly, and you're going to be happy with the way they died. All right. And then you look at it and they do things and it's going, the one person no one wanted to die, Theon Greyjoy. He didn't deserve to die. He'd gone through too much shit. And in George R. R. Martin's writing, he probably wouldn't have died. But then they have other characters who definitely should have died and did not die. And that was an interesting one for me, about creating that promise. So like with the drinking, I put those little bits in, and then I kind of go, if I want to go back to that later on in the series, a reader goes, where did that come from? The breadcrumbs are there.
Okay.
And that's an interesting way for me when I'm doing it anyway.
Because I'm happy that tied in, because I lost you in the middle and then we pulled it back together.
Yeah. I was like, Mike's gonna have to pull me back here, but I know where I'm going.
That was beautiful.
You're just gonna have that edit where that section just cuts, right? And then all you see is my face just goes.
You're assuming too much on the production end of this. That does bring 100%. Me to one of the segments of the show. Is I have a novella idea for you.
Okay, hit me.
So we're gonna call this Don and the Talking Tree.
Okay.
Lifted on the wings of alcohol, Don strikes up a conversation with a tree, and what do you know? The tree talks back. Follow a conversation about life, love, and so much more.
You know what? I'm gonna write that story.
There you go.
That actually, and what's great about that is it really fits the character. Like, but one of these running things that I have with him, like, is where, like, at the end of one of his chapters, towards the end of the book, and he sits there and he's sitting there with Dallin and he's having a drink, and the barmaid's over, and he goes, "I ever told you about that story with the horse and the horn growing from its head?" And as soon as you said that, yeah, I'm gonna write that story. What I want you, could you just, when you inevitably email me after this saying how fantastic the whole thing was, I don't know what that was a very camp swing right there, how fantastic the whole thing was. But I'm totally free with my body. But
you're fucking killing me on these. I gotta put it. You're killing my thank you emails.
But 100%, send that. I actually want to write that. I think that'd be brilliant. That'd be so good.
All right.
It's like just an extra thing.
I'm gonna ask the one serious question of this podcast. One of the goals of this podcast, I know it's hard to imagine, that is to kind of show how fantasy has broken past that stereotypical view of what it is. I think someone described it as like, white European straight, read by like neckbeards in their mom's basement littered with misogyny and heroes who, have a harem of women and blah, blah, blah. What about your books kind of breaks that traditional mold and brings fantasy to either the more general audience or a specific audience that breaks outside of that traditionally stereotypical fan base?
Yeah, and it's interesting because my book in general is classic fantasy, but I try to tell it in the contemporary way. So the idea is that what's classic about it are familiar story beats, like and familiar types of things you want to happen. Like, you want those things, the boy and the dragon, you have the kind of, the farm boy, that kind of stuff. And but for me, when I wrote the books, some of the things I wanted, it can be a difficult thing when it comes to representation in fantasy nowadays, because everyone wants it and it should be there. And I always want, and I really, really feel strongly about it. I really want anyone to be able to look at my books and be able to see themselves in characters. And I don't leave everything as a blank slate. I do describe skin color and I do describe things, but I do that on purpose. And the reason I do, a lot of people avoid it. And the reason I do is because I want to create a world that feels real. And so in my head, skin color and things like that are affected by geography and they're affected by where you are. And this world hasn't fully meshed yet, but also I have, so there's particular characters, like in my novella, there's a character called Corin, and she goes through different things, and she has come from a different place. And then we will see, I don't describe anything to do with her skin color or complexion or anything like that. But then as you go on, you will find out that she does have a darker skin color and other people have this and that, but it's never a factor of who they are. It's just a passing, this is the person. And I always want people to be able to see that. And it's always a tough one. I don't know. For me, when it comes to stuff like that, it's always tough, especially for a straight white male author, because a lot of authors shy away from it. They 100% do. If you avoid the topic in your book, then because it can be a landmine sometimes if you do it wrong, if you don't do the research right, and you don't really talk to people, you can get it wrong so easily. But it's one thing that I do want to try and do, and I am trying to do, is to create a diverse cast and to bring. It can be easy in fantasy, like what I write, because there's so many substitutes for diversity, because you have elves, you have dwarves, you have giants, you have humans. It's naturally diverse, but not in the way the real world is. It's different races working together. And I think it's about including that. And then also for me, one thing I don't have in the books at all, even though it's true to real world, there is misogyny in real world, and there is rape and things in real world, but I don't have them in my books. And the reason I don't is because there's many ways to build a character, and I just don't feel I need to go there to build that character. I don't need to put that in there. And I've tried to, basically, when I look at fantasy, I think fantasy has this ability to step past the horrible things in real world.
Right.
Like, we're creating a new world. Why do we have to make it? I've gone on such a tangent to get to this point, but my general point is, I always do, especially with these things, because they're so sensitive, and I'm always worried I'm going to say the wrong thing, because I always say the wrong thing. Everyone does. But we're creating a new world. We don't have to build it. We can make it realistic without building it with the same flaws that our own world has. So when I look at it from a gender equality role and from like misogyny, I go, no, because to me, this world grew up different. So we understand that on a general broad spectrum that men tend to be taller and tend to be bigger than women. But that doesn't mean that there aren't women littered throughout the armies in just as proportionate amount. And there aren't women in loads of women in my books are figures of power, kings, queens, leaders, and always will be, because there's no reason they ever shouldn't have been. And that's the kind of thing that I try to steer clear of in mine, is I never want to bring that kind of real world bias for gender and for race into it, because I feel like we have the opportunity to take that out in these books, and there's so many other horrible things we can do to characters. Why do we bring that stuff in?
Agreed.
For me, anyway, I probably went on this huge tangent. It doesn't really say what I'm trying to say, but in general.
No, I actually think that like you made a much better point than you think you made.
That happens sometimes, and then other times I'm like, oh,
it goes the other
way.
That
was gold. I'm like, oh man, this guy's a dick.
I think we're gonna end it with this question. How did that bard get hired if he sucked so bad at the lute?
Oh, because basically they're out in the middle of nowhere, right? So you think about this, right? My American geography is bad, okay, but Texas is pretty big, isn't it?
It's huge.
Yeah. Okay. So if you take the middle of Texas, 500 kilometers away from any major city, 1,000 kilometers away from any major city, beggars can't be choosers.
Right.
This guy's coming through with a lute, and you're like, oh my God, this guy plays music. We haven't heard music in days. So you're like, yeah, come in, we'll give you a beer. And you're like, oh shit, should not have given that guy a beer.
If you knew about the middle of Texas, they'd probably just shoot that guy. And on that note, where can people find you?
I'm still agreeing with that one. Everywhere, hand motions. My website, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I'm probably pretty active on Twitter now. I was really scared of Twitter because it didn't make any sense to me. But what I've realized is it makes no sense to anyone. So we're all on a level playing field.
No, you're extremely good at those unique enough generic tweets that fucking kill it on there.
I'm surprised. I put stuff up and I'm just like, why do these people care?
You've gone
Like,
semi-viral to actual viral a few times, and it's pretty impressive.
it was quite funny. The tweet about the fantasy books and pairs of socks that went pretty viral. I
Yeah,
just
that
got a
one
few
fucking
messages.
killed.
I was like, and I wasn't, the thing about those is I'm not trying. I was looking at it and I went, they are socks. like this parallel exists. This exactly, and the only reason it happened was because basically since I've moved to, it's so funny because this really wasn't. This was just a normal tweet because I came back here and I was like, I had no books. So you know how expensive books are to ship. So I had nothing. So the problem is we're coming over here. We're in a new country. I've just started as a full-time writer. So money might be fine now, but it could be gone in a month. But my brain doesn't work like that. My fiance's does. She's all analytical. I'm not. So I'm sitting there going, well, so problem, I have no books. Solution, buy books. So I was sitting there going, yeah, I'm going to get this book, and then get this book, and get this book. And I was like, I got to stop buying books. What happens is, here's a book. I didn't even realize I brought this book with me. And all of a sudden I'm finding shit. And I'm like, oh man, I have the same problem I do with socks and books. I don't know what they are. I can't find them. I buy 10 more.
That's the making of a viral tweet, folks. Thank you so much for coming on. Go pick up the goddamn book already if you haven't.
I did. It's over there.
There you go.
Yeah.
And we will definitely be doing this again soon.
You say that, but you definitely don't want me back on here.
Yeah, I've thought that about people wanting to come back on, and I found that, you know what? We both got things to promote. See you later. I really meant it when I said Ryan was awesome. I had so much fun with him. We were talking after, and I almost completely missed like an engagement that I had to go to after because we were just bullshitting for so long. I really hope he does find Hobbit one day. You never know. Let's do the books on the horizon because the 50 straight author journey keeps on going. And they will continue next week with We Are the Dead by Mike Shackle. Great interview. So much fun. And his book is incredible. And then after that is Legacy of Ash by Matthew Ward, which, by the way, is long as fuck, but I'm loving it right now. And I can't wait to get the opportunity to bring that interview to you guys. Keep on reading or something. Peace.